Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're digging into a really influential book, one that's definitely sparked a lot of debate and changed how people think about money.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad from way back in 97.
Still relevant, though.
Totally. We've got a great review as our source, so we're going to pull out the key stuff,
Huh.
the philosophy, the good points, and yeah, the criticisms too. Give you the full picture. Okay, let's unpack this.
What's fascinating here is how this book, despite its age, still sparks so much conversation about money and mindset. It really did shake things up, challenging that traditional view of finance.
It absolutely did. And the core of it is this contrast, right, between these two dads in Kiyosaki's story.
Right.
You've got his core dad, that's his biological dad, highly educated, government job, very, conventional about money. Security is key.
Standard path, yeah. Get a good job, climb the ladder.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And then there's the rich dad, his best friend's father, an entrepreneur, wealthy, and teaching these completely different sort of street-smart financial lessons.
Very unconventional for the time.
The whole point of the book, really, is to get you thinking differently, pushing towards financial independence, not just a paycheck, thinking about investing, starting businesses, getting financially literate.
That education piece is huge.
It really is. That's actually the first big lesson he hits on, the importance of financial education.
Mm-hmm.
Kiyosaki basically says, look, schools teach us reading, writing, arithmetic, but not how money actually works.
Yeah, it's a massive gap. We learn how to work for money.
But not how to make money work for us. That's his whole thing. He even has that quote, the lack of money is the root of all evil.
Mm.
Kind of intense, but it frames financial ignorance as a big problem.
It's provocative, for sure. He's saying you need skills like accounting, understanding investing, markets, even basic law, stuff that builds wealth but isn't usually on the syllabus.
Right.
And, that feels even more true today. There's so much noise, so much financial info out there. Knowing the principles helps you filter. It's not just facts, it's understanding the system.
That really sets the foundation. And building right on that, you get what's maybe the most famous idea from the book, assets versus liabilities.
Ah, yes, the cornerstone.
He keeps it super simple. Assets put money in your pocket, liabilities take money out.
Sounds obvious, maybe. But the way he applies it, that's where it gets interesting.
Yeah, it often gives people that aha moment, like you said earlier,
Yeah.
because his definitions can clash with what we normally think.
Exactly. The classic example is the house, right? Your own home.
Everyone thinks of it as their biggest asset.
But Kiyosaki comes along and says, well, hold on. Does it generate income for you? Or does it just cost you money every month?
Right.
Mortgage, taxes, upkeep.
So by his strict definition, it's often a liability.
Right. He's got that blunt quote. The rich buy assets. The poor only have expenses. The middle class buys liabilities they think are assets.
Oof. That one hits home for a lot of people, I think. It forces you to look at everything you own differently.
Hmm.
Is it helping you get ahead financially or holding you back?
It's all about the cash flow in his model. Is money coming in or going out because of this thing? Now, this is also where some criticism comes in, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it is a bit simplified. A house, for example, might not generate monthly cash flow, but it can appreciate in value over time, build equity. It's not just an expense in the real world. There's nuance there that maybe gets lost in the simple definition.
That's a really important clarification. It's a powerful starting point, but maybe not the whole story on something like home ownership.
For sure.
Okay, so beyond what you own, he also talks about how you work. The idea is work to learn, not to earn.
Mm-hmm. Prioritize skills.
Exactly. Don't just chase the highest salary right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Think about jobs that will teach you valuable things, business skills, financial skills, sales, marketing.
Things you can leverage later.
Right. Even if the pay isn't amazing initially. He contrasts the dads again. Job security means everything to my educated dad. Learning means everything to my rich dad.
That feels super relevant now, too, with careers changing so fast. It's less about one job for life and more about having a toolkit of skills you can adapt, like building a portfolio of what you can do.
Your own sort of personal capability stack.
Yeah, exactly. That's your real security, maybe, your adaptability.
Which kind of leads perfectly into the next big goal he talks about, the power of passive income. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Ah, the dream. Making money while you sleep.
Basically, yeah,
Yeah.
building income streams that aren't tied directly to the hours you work. He talked a lot about, real estate rentals, stock dividends, owning businesses that run without you needing to be there 24/7.
He uses stories, right? Anecdotes about buying properties, investing in small ventures.
Yeah, showing how you can generate income without actively trading your time for it.
And look, that's obviously super appealing. That's a big draw of the book. But this is also where he gets a lot of pushback, isn't it?
Definitely. Critics jump on this.
They argue it makes it sound way easier than it is, like getting into rental properties. That takes serious capital, management effort, dealing with tenants, market risks. It's not exactly passive overnight.
Right. There's often a lot of active work up front to build something that becomes passive later.
Exactly. It's not a get-rich-quick thing, usually. It takes strategy, patience, and often significant risk and effort that the book sometimes glosses over.
Good point. It's a goal, not an instant reality. Another key thing is the mindset difference.
Oh, yeah, this is crucial.
It boils down to changing that internal script. Instead of saying, I can't afford it,
Yes, how can I afford it?
yes,
Yeah.
that little shift. He argues it opens up your brain to find solutions, to get creative financially, instead of just hitting a wall.
It's moving from that scarcity thinking there's not enough to more of an abundance or possibility mindset. Psychologically, that's huge. You start seeing opportunities instead of just obstacle.
It primes you for problem solving.
Yeah.
And finally, related to that, is overcoming fear and taking risks.
The fear of losing money.
Yeah.
It paralyzes a lot of people.
Totally. Kiyosaki says that's a major block. The wealthy, he argues, understand risk. They're willing to take calculated risks, and they see failure not as the end, but as part of learning.
Part of the process.
Right. He has that quote, winners are not afraid of losing, but losers are. Failure is part of the process of success.
And again, the nuance is key here. It's not about being reckless, right?
No.
It's about informed risk, understanding the potential downside, learning from it if things go wrong. The tricky part for readers, maybe, is figuring out what is a calculated risk versus just a gamble, especially since the book is light on, say, detailed financial analysis tools.
That's fair. It's more about the mindset towards risk than the specific math of it. So, okay, we've covered the core lessons and touched on some critiques. What are the big strengths of this book? Why did it resonate so much?
Well, first off, the language is super accessible. He breaks down ideas in a way that beginners can really grab onto.
No jargon.
Right. And it's story-driven. Those anecdotes about the two dads make it stick, make it relatable.
More engaging than a dry textbook.
Definitely. And maybe its biggest plus is how it just fundamentally challenges norms. It makes you question the standard path school, job, retire. It questions how we're taught, what we prioritize.
It encourages you to think like an owner, not just an employee.
Exactly. And those mindset shifts we talked about, they're genuinely empowering. It makes people feel like they can take control of their finances. It's a great mental starting point.
It really cracks open a different way of thinking. So who is this book really for then? Who gets the most out of it?
I'd say definitely beginners in personal finance, people just starting out.
Yeah, maybe young adults figuring out careers.
Perfect for them. And really, anyone feeling kind of stuck in that traditional work, earn, spend cycle, who's curious about maybe entrepreneurship or investing, but doesn't know where to begin thinking about it.
So our final verdict.
Yeah.
We're landing on a solid 8.5 out of 10.
That's about right.
It's absolutely not a step-by-step financial plan. We've hit on that. Lack of specifics is a valid criticism.
Don't expect a how-to manual.
But where it shines and why it gets that score is in shifting your mindset. And honestly, that might be the most critical first step to building wealth anyway, getting your head in the right place.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic primer for breaking out of that paycheck-to-paycheck mentality and just thinking bigger about money.
It's a catalyst.
Plain and simple, a catalyst.
So what does this all mean? Well, for you listening, the big takeaway from Rich Dad, Poor Dad is probably about changing how you approach money internally.
Yeah, challenging those assumptions you might not even know you have.
It pushes you to ask different questions. Not just, can I afford it? But how can I? Not just what job pays the most, but what job teaches me the most.
And getting really honest about what's an asset truly building your wealth versus what's just stuff that costs you money, even if it's nice stuff.
It's about starting that journey towards thinking like an investor or an entrepreneur, even if you're just starting out.
So the mindset piece is powerful. It gets you thinking differently, which leads to a pretty interesting question, actually.
Yeah.
If Rich Dad, Poor Dad is such a great starter for shifting that mindset, what then is the next essential shift? You know, to go from just thinking differently to actually taking concrete action in the real world, especially when investing itself is way more complex than just my assets? Where do you go from the mindset change to effective real world strategy?